Broadcasting live from across the United States, this is the Multitapped podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome once again to another edition, another episode of the Multitapped podcast. Unfortunately, there will be no Jason Lewis this week, no crotchety old man, and I'll be hosting this week's podcast, which is all about video game music, and who else but me, the 8-bit stereo guy. So, of course, I'm Nico, the Wiiguy, and with me, I have Andrew Hayden of Retro Island Gaming, Joshua Tiberius of Test Your Might, and Rewind Mike of, Rewind Mike. Yes. So I am excited to talk about some video game music, not just like composed and stuff. I just got a list. We're going to go through it, and it's going to be good times. Y'all ready?
Maybe.
Do this.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, first up on the docket is when did your love of video game music start? And I guess I'll lead into this by saying that just, playing games growing up, I always took interest and love with the music, but back then it was just like a thing. It was like, oh yeah, it's the music and it's nice. But around 2007-8, when I was, of course, getting really into the internet or, had my own computer and stuff, I looking up all the old school stuff and just rediscovering all my old soundtracks, all the great soundtracks from the Super Nintendo era, N64, GameCube. It was really nice. It was great rediscovering that and just being enveloped with, memories and at that point discovering NES music. My love of NES music, which, rolled into a ball that's now 8-bit stereo, and I'm proud of that. And that was around 2008 when I listened to the Target Renegade soundtrack, which is, so good. And it's a basic little story there for my love of video game music. It's good stuff. So,
damn.
Yeah. So who wants to go next? Who wants to talk about how they discovered their video game music, or what really set them off to be like, I love video game music?
Andrew?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think for me, I first started playing games on the Apple II, which didn't have much music. And then we switched to a nice old DOS machine, and we got little speakers for it. We had an ad-lib sound card, and we got a game called Jill the Jungle. Put that game on. It had this awesome music. It was all great. And I was just blown away. I was probably 1992. Yeah, ever since then, I just been in love with video game music. So.
Yeah, that's an epic Mega Games classic, I believe, there.
Yes, Joshua, thank you.
I've never heard of it.
Well, it's funny because you brought up PC gaming, because it's not like the first time, but the first time that I realized that video game music added something to a game is actually around the same time, 1992, 93 maybe. We had a IBM compatible PC, and I've been playing Wolfenstein 3D, and we only had the little PC speaker, which barely made any noise at all. But then my dad bought a sound blaster, and that game came on full sound effects and voice samples and music, and it just really, I can remember there's the music itself really added to the game, because there's even a track on there that has Morse code in it, and it's gives a message to your hero to kill Hitler in Morse code built into the music. So it's pretty cool. It really added to the game, and that's when I realized it can video game music can add context to the piece.
Yeah.
Very
I
good.
think Robert Prince did that soundtrack.
Yeah.
For what?
Wolfenstein.
Robert
3D?
Prince.
Oh.
Yeah,
Bobby Prince.
Yeah, he also did Doom, and that's about it. Yeah, I don't know what else he did. After
His
that.
magnum opus.
Yeah, I really don't.
Commander
He might have
Keen.
done other stuff, but
He did a lot of other DOS stuff, but that's his claim to fame for sure.
I thought he just did sound effects on those games. Did he do music too?
No, he's
He
the
did the
classic
music.
MIDI
Yeah.
composer.
Yeah, okay.
But,
Uh,
right.
And just like Nico, video game music was pretty much just that. It was just video game music, and it wasn't until I started to play these old games, I was like, these, soundtracks are a little bit more complex than I thought they were, just beeps and bops or whatever you really want to consider it. And Some of the soundtracks are really like good. Like Donkey Kong Country is one of my favorite ones. It's really it really stands out as something really strong, and again, something I could listen to at any point, and it always just brings you back to that moment. And you don't really think about it as that until you go back to like playing older games and stuff like that. 'Cause it's just video game music at the end of the day, but to some people it's a little bit more, and I can see how that is because a lot of it is really good. Like when we start talking about some other stuff later, I'll go a little bit more into my love for soundtracks and stuff like that. But as for composers and stuff like that, I've never really gotten into it as much. It's more just whatever had caught my ear really that I liked. So I don't really have like the big backstory with video game music. Like I said, I didn't start discovering it or finding like an actual love for it until later on in life. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to it it's like, when did you love? I mean, it's just, back then you thought it was great. And now definitely in this age of the internet and just, YouTube, you can find so many soundtracks and I don't know. It's just video game music is what it is. So it's like, it's not really a whole lot to just be like, I don't know.
I can actually remember my very first video game music, like one I actually loved because I was like 4 years old. It was actually the Ghostbusters NES game because it did the theme. I think that's all it took. Like, yeah. Unfortunately, I own the Ghostbusters NES game, so that was the punchline.
It's an okay theme or the conversion on that. I mean, it's the only song in the game, so
right. So
yeah,
they spent some time on it at least. So,
but hey, so you're bringing up your favorite soundtracks, Mike. Well, that rolls along into our next discussion is favorite soundtracks, which I don't know how long this one will go, but I'll just try and name off just some quick hitters because there's a lot of classic stuff. All the Zeldas, the Marios, those are great soundtracks. Probably not favorite, but they're great. I mean, like favorites is stuff like, Silver Surfer, a lot of NES stuff, Target Renegade, The Journey to Silius, freaking like Shatterhand. It's great soundtracks, so many, and God, it's tough because I just want to just start a name and just go through consoles and just be like, oh yeah, NES this, Super Nintendo this. There's a lot. There's a whole lot. And I guess I'd also say that the Rhythm Heaven Fever series, or Rhythm Heaven series, one of my favorite series of all time. And the music in that series, it's a music game. It's on point. That would probably be one of my favorites if I were to definitely like name like a top 5. Rhythm Heaven, just the series, because they all really get praise for just being incredible and catchy.
Never heard of it before.
What? Really? I don't talk about it all the time. But
I know
Sega game, I believe. Who makes it? Sega, right? No?
Makes it what? Sega?
Yeah. Or am I wrong?
No, that's Nintendo. That is Nintendo themselves.
What am I thinking of then?
I don't know. The Space Channel 5.
No.
Another little music game.
It's something else. I don't know. Some detective game that's a dancing game also for the 3DS. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, Elite Beat Agents?
I don't. No, not that.
Okay, well that's kind of yeah. Anyway, I know what you're trying to. You're trying to get at. It's okay. It's relating. You're relating well. Andrew, do you got any little hidden gems that we may not know about? Some of your favorite soundtracks, or do you have a list?
I think my best hidden gem would be a game called Iron Seed. No one's heard of it, I'm sure.
Is that Genesis?
Yeah, it came out. No, actually, it's on DOS. It's by a guy.
Of course.
Well, that's why no one's heard of it. You got one console people here, but no, it was done by a guy named Andrew Sega. The game is kind of like a Star Control ripoff, except that it sucks completely. But the music is just amazing. It's just awesome. That's like kind of like more of a hidden gem. But I guess for more relatable soundtracks, I really like the Echo the Dolphin soundtrack for Sega Genesis, and 1 and 2, really, really great.
Such atmosphere.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Really puts you into the.
It's very enveloping.
Mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, exploring tunnels and open ocean.
Oh yeah. those sound effects too for that game.
Makes you feel like a dolphin.
It does. The cry, the echo, like everything about that game is fantastic. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, soundtrack definitely stands on its own too.
Not so much for the Sega CD, but
Yeah, it changes on that one.
I don't like it. I've tried listening to it before, but I can't. Josh?
It's kind of, like if we're speaking like just of like retro hidden gem soundtracks, I still say, and I've talked about this game before, it's Abadox's soundtrack. I think it's very much a hidden. No one really cares about that game,
Yeah.
but that soundtrack is really good. Like
I love it, man.
Milton
yeah, of
Bradley.
course, but you love nearly every 8-bit NES soundtrack.
Nearly.
Nearly. No, I said nearly. I wasn't going to say every because
I
that's
know.
not true. But no, that's one I always think of, like in that era for sure, that I really enjoy. But you mentioned like Silver Surfer, and of course, love that one, but not really a hidden gem.
No, you don't have to talk about hidden soundtracks. I mean, I threw that in with Andrew, but I mean that's definitely.
Well, most of my favorite soundtracks are actually more modern soundtracks. Like it's funny he mentioned like I don't know what the detective game was, but Rockstar's LA Noire soundtrack is like fantastic. Like it really sets the mood for that game. And of course, I think like the best soundtrack ever is the Hotline Miami soundtrack. Like that game's only been out in like the last 5 years, but
it's pretty bass. I mean, it's bassy. It's kind of it's techno, right?
Yeah, but that's you have to play the game along with it. Like it's not just techno; it's like dirty, violent techno that's like perfectly picked for the game, and like every single track feels like it was meticulously picked from a list of like fantastic artists, and they had a perfect feel they wanted for it. You're talking about atmosphere like Echo the Dolphin. I guarantee Hotline Miami's got better atmosphere than Echo the Dolphin, quite frankly.
For days.
So yeah, so like
it's a great soundtrack.
And like there's other like I think the Fallout New Vegas soundtrack's fantastic because it mixes like old and new. Like it mixes the old Fallout soundtrack with a new one composed by Anon Zur that's based off the Fallout 3 but slightly tweaked. It's just really that's a good soundtrack too that people wouldn't really think about as being a great soundtrack. Plus it's got the radio stations and it's good stuff.
Yeah, the original Fallout was great. I think was it Mark Morgan who did that?
Mark Morgan. And my favorite track that he did on that was Metallic Monks, just the one with the air raid horns that come in and out of it. Because I hate that. I hate when people put the air raid sirens in music. But he did it so well, and it makes it work. Like nobody else I've ever heard really could. Like he really nailed like how you do it. It doesn't make it sound annoying or too frightening. It's just got that perfect foreboding sound. It's really good. I could throw another wrench into this. It was not really modern, but the Road Rash, the original Road Rash, like the disc version, with like the alt '90s rock, like Soundgarden and Monster Magnet.
And licensed music.
Yeah, it's all licensed music. But, I mean, licensed music is part of video game music, man.
Tony Hawk too.
Yeah, it is.
So like. And that's one of the more early examples of like a fully licensed soundtrack, and it actually worked really well with that gritty Road Rash combat thing going on. So, Soundgarden's Rusty Cage is perfect to kick somebody off a bike to, like perfect. So,
it's pretty good.
All right, so I guess it's my go at this whole soundtrack thing. So for obviously favorite OST is going to be something from, surprisingly it's going to be the NES. What a big surprise. Oh my god, what a twist. And the reason I'm picking is because it's very complex, and I could actually see this whole soundtrack being recorded on actual instruments, and it kind of sets the pace for the whole game, for each area you're going through. Like, Josh was saying with the Hotline Miami, it feels like, the songs for this game were made, particularly for those certain, moments in the game, and it's going to be Snake's Revenge on the Nintendo. It's like literally like the most metal OST on the NES, like by far. I don't care. Journey to Silius is almost there, You've got, some of the Mega Man games and stuff like that. But if I had to say for the best OST, or my favorite, I would say, would be Snake's Revenge. Or second runner-up would be Super Castlevania 4. That's another one that's just like really good. It doesn't really capture the atmosphere of the game or add really too much to like the whole layout of things, but it's still very enjoyable to fucking listen to. Sorry for the cursing.
No, it's fine. I just curse. Did you hear Jason last week? He's a cursing mofo.
Nah.
Don't matter that, but I agree. I can heavily agree with Journey to Silius comment and Snake's Revenge.
Yeah.
Snake's Revenge is way better than the original Metal Gear on NES, which, not saying Metal Gear is bad, it's just comparatively, Snake's Revenge is a whole other beast.
Yeah.
And Super Castlevania is pretty great.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite of the Castlevania series. It's pretty great. I love it. It's pretty grand.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
No, just it's pretty grand.
Oh shit, he agrees with me. Fuck.
I do. Actually, you know what? I do got something else to say, and that is
the FM soundtrack for
transitioning. I love transitions. Favorite composers. We're going straight into that. Probably should have combined that with favorite soundtracks because we already mentioned certain names, but I mean, that's inevitable, really, because I mean, I'm ready to just be like, phew, rocket, just list off all these people that you guys are going to just be like, yeah, that's it. I agree. Left those guys like, the David Wises, Tim and Jeff Fallen, Jerome Tell, Neil Baldwin, Naoki Kodaka, who is, of course, the main composer at Sunsoft. I mean, there's... it's a lot of retro, too, unfortunately. I don't really know too many modern... Besides, like, Koji Kondo, who's still kind of doing stuff with Nintendo. But as far as favorite composers, it's mostly in the 8 and even 16-bit era. Barry Leach... who else? There's Chris Hulsbeck. He's got a German last name. It's hard to pronounce, but he did the Jim Power soundtrack, which is... bar none, one of my favorite Super Nintendo soundtracks as well. Jim Power should have mentioned that, but I mean, when it comes to talking about video game music, I'm gonna miss stuff, unless we just specifically talked about favorite soundtracks and composers for this podcast right now. That we could probably fill the hour and a half slot. We could probably really do it, but we gotta keep things rolling. But
hour and a half,
at best.
Hour and a half.
It's just what hour and a half. That's 90 minutes. That's fine. Jesus, guys.
Hey, I'm good. Anyway.
And yes, Westapo, I did mention Naoki Kodaka because he's banging. He made Rewind Mike's favorite soundtrack. I mean, along with 4 other, people involved with the sound team. So, hey, that shows, large sound team. But even then, just one guy like David Wise could really bring it home. So there's a bunch I named. Anybody got something else to change it up?
I mean, you kind of said David Wise already, because when it comes to composers, I don't really know too many composers' names besides, a very, very, very small amount. But for him, I'd say he'd probably be my favorite because his range of choices, like I didn't even know that he had anything to do with like Nightmare on Elm Street soundtrack, and like I fucking love that soundtrack, like absolutely. I like the game too, but it's got its frustrating moments, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about the music, not the game. But yeah, I had no idea, and to listen to like the Donkey Kong Country soundtracks for so long, and then like to play Nightmare on Elm Street, and then to find out that he created some of those haunting melodies is like, it's really different, and it doesn't sound like any of his other work either. So like anytime I see him like doing some sort of music, it's not really like so much to the same tone as it, I thought it was. Jumping into like I said with the Donkey Kong games, it's not all like that. And yeah,
no, that's what really helps. It's pretty much what good, great.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I cut you off, and I was just gonna say.
No, you're good. You're good.
I mean, that's what makes David Wise probably one of the best because Rare in the NES days did like 30 games, and he was in charge of all those soundtracks and. being the main guy, you go through a lot of soundtracks or sounds and styles, and that really also helped, I guess, help just like the sounds he also created on like the Super Nintendo and with Donkey Kong Country and all the other soundtracks he's done. I mean,
Battletoads.
Battletoads definitely, and
Like again, another game where it doesn't sound like anything else he's kind of done before, especially
Yeah,
with
it's
the
very
NES being limited to like what 4 channels, 5 channels, 5 channel, 4
5
channels with a sound.
most people use
channel.
4. That's the thing,
Right? Yeah, but the other channel was used for like sampling sounds and stuff like that. But
Sometimes
the NES could only put out like a certain sound for like each channel and stuff like that. So like there was no really manipulating it or anything like that too much. So like again, like I was saying, I don't know if I'm talking like if I'm actually talking out of my fucking ass. It sounds in my head like I'm actually saying the right thing, but I know that the channels could only put out a certain sound each, and those channels couldn't change until the song was physically changed itself or loaded in differently.
You got it. You're totally right.
Yeah,
Just look at the NES library. Like almost every, separating different composers, there's so many different sounds. You think with something like the NES or the music, it's like you think it'd be very similar, but no, many composers can do many different things, and that's what makes it even more amazing, especially for the NES era, of course. And Super Nintendo does it too, but then
with like computer systems like the Amiga, or I guess, or like the Commodore, you can do a lot more with the channels and stuff like that. They were able to manipulate them better and stuff like that. So that's why with the NES, you kind of get like songs that kind of sound the same with the same tones and sound effects and stuff like that, which are still good. Like, they're still very varied, depending on how much, love was actually put into the track. Otherwise you just get fucking beeps and bops, and there's literally games like that on the NES. But with the computer, you just get like so much prettier music.
I love that.
Fuck you, Andrew. I was stuck with an NES.
It's okay. I love having Andrew as our PC guy because PC doesn't get a lot. I mean, like DOS. Like DOS doesn't get a whole lot of love and soundtracks.
It's really
no.
Yeah, I know a lot of the composers I mentioned. Some of them did like DOS music, but I don't know any composers especially that like worked on like not exclusive, but mostly DOS, except for like Bobby Prince.
Yeah, Bobby Prince.
I think Alistair Brimble did some DOS stuff, or maybe Amiga. I'm thinking for him because you mentioned Amiga. Like you mentioned Amiga, Mike, and I was like, I gotta think of somebody for him. But once again, it's hard to definitely think of that. I mean, like
Amiga soundboard
composers for like the DOS. I would think you had somebody, Andrew. Nobody coming to mind.
DOS ones, Dan Froelich.
Dan Forden. Yeah.
Or I can't pronounce these names.
No, I just repeated it. I didn't mean to say it as a pronunciation. So I knew. It's Dan.
It's like Dan, and then the next name is Froleich. I don't know.
Froelich?
Oh, Froelich? Oh, I thought we were saying Dan Forden, who was somebody else.
Froelich?
He did a lot of the early Epic Mega Games soundtracks.
Okay.
He has like a sound you can follow along. He did a lot of those, but Alistair Brimble, that was on my list too. That guy, he's a lot of great Amiga soundtracks he worked on.
He's the king of Amiga, I believe. Because he did a lot of soundtracks. Him and David Whittaker, another great composer. Those two have done so many soundtracks.
Yeah.
You got to think with something like that, like doing so many. I think who said it? I don't know if it was Benny. No, I forgot who said this in the Multitapped chat. They were saying how I think it was you, Josh. Didn't you mention David Whittaker?
Yeah, I just brought up like he's kind of known for how much he did, but like I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head that he did that I like really liked. Now I know that's not true for everybody because I didn't like do a lot of Commodore gaming and stuff. Like that's where a lot of his best work was on. So I don't know. I know his stuff from like EA games, and like I know those were like time constrained things. And I also know like as he got older in his career, he moved away from like strictly making music and like production quality stuff. So I don't know exactly like what he worked on that he actually did the music on and what he didn't. But like I know the early stuff people like is stuff that I didn't grow up with, and so it wasn't stuff that I necessarily knew of him for. But I just knew that he did a lot of stuff. Like I saw his name everywhere. So like yeah, it's like a quantity over quality thing. But I don't. Yeah, I asked you if it was fair to say that he was a guy that was more quantity over quality, and I think you argued that not necessarily, because even though he did a lot of things, he did a lot of so few quality things. It's just, again, I feel like the reason I knew his name is because I see it so often.
Yeah, I think he was definitely that in his home computer era, doing a lot of ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64 stuff, Amiga. On the NES, he did like 8 soundtracks, and I really like what he did with those. You know, Spider-Man: Return of the Sinister Six, Alfred Chicken, Loops, and I like his sound. He's the one that has, of course, again, as Mike has just talked about with like sound and NES, he's got a unique sound. For me, I could be like, oh, that's David Wise if I would just hear like, you know, out and about somewhere at like a convention, I guess. Not just out and about. It's not like just random video game music to be playing at your local freaking coffee shop. I wish though.
Bad, really.
Yeah, and it's yeah, it's just David Whittaker. There's so many composers and there's so many soundtracks. It's like I just wish I could just I mean, no, I wish I could just talk about it because obviously we gotta still go through some things. But
This is your chance, Nico. Let's hear him.
there's so many. I just bring my computer and just point at all the games and just be like, I like that one and that one. It's like, you know, like Gimmick. I believe Benny just mentioned that Gimmick's a great soundtrack because it's one of the only ones to use the unique FM E07 sound chip that Sunsoft developed for that game. And I mean, the Gimmick soundtrack. If anyone's listening to that, you know, that's rich. It's literally rich in sound.
Is that why they destroy Batman Return of the Joker to make that game? Like...
Well, no. I mean, yes. And whoever does that, F you guys.
Yeah,
fucking
EverDrive. Seriously.
So, okay, so you can't get all the sound channels if you played on EverDrive, but you could still get one of them. It's you gotta settle. And whatever.
Don't destroy that game. It's artificially
Batman.
raising the price of it, you goddamn motherfucking repros, motherfuckers.
Right.
I mean, there ain't nothing
Okay,
wrong with it, you know? Like, take apart like Bases Loaded or something, man. Why you take apart Batman?
It's a different
I know, I'm just saying.
Who did
Well, you know
Bases
what?
Loaded soundtrack?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. You can take those games apart all you want. Use the boards as something else, goddammit, or don't make it at all.
You know what? It's a good little thing you mentioned that because I don't know. I suck at transitions, but I just added this one pretty much before we started. I added favorite companies, like pretty much companies like you know favorite companies with like sound. And now this is particularly in the retro scene. Obviously, you know, like Capcom, Konami. Those like the big two that people will be saying like, oh, they've got the best sound. But I mean, it's not tough to like just say what your favorite is from a company. I mean, obviously, yeah, you can think of Konami, Capcom, Nintendo, Sunsoft. They're great companies. Natsume, now there's an underrated company with some great sounds on the NES.
That's actually true. I don't remember it offhand, but I remember when I was one day researching that was true. So I can't remember. They did Abadox, I know that much. But
Natsume did some great stuff with Abadox, Power Blade 1 and 2, Shadow Ninja, Shatterhand, Dungeon Magic, and unfortunately the port of Heroes of the Lands. But that soundtrack, not bad.
Oh.
It's all right.
What did you just?
What? Did I say not that bad for that game?
Heroes
the music.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go listen to it now.
The game sucks, man.
I'm gonna go listen to it now.
It's pretty good. That was Iku Mizutani, another great composer as well. Once again, that's probably that's gonna keep coming back. Just me just being like, oh yeah, and this composer is one of my favorite too, and he is great. Natsume had a lot of great composers, and I think what also really helps them be great is that they had a lot of composers from Konami. You know, they got Kunio Yamashita, Iku Mizutani, and Keiuchi Sada, who did Abadox, and they all worked at Konami. And that's
another game that I'm going to mention later. I'm going to save it for later.
Yeah, and that's also why Natsume music kind of sounds like Konami because once again, they worked there. So,
how do y'all feel about Sega's in-house stuff?
Sega does great. They do good. Like Genesis, like they're actually and like System 2. Yeah,
because they actually knew how to work their own sound chips and they made it sound fantastic. I always thought that was true.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that reminds me of Sunsoft really knew how to work the Genesis. I mean, the only game actually I can think of is Superman, the Superman Genesis game. Now that is like one of the best sounding Genesis soundtracks I've heard, and they knew how to work that console sound.
Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage 2. I mean
That
beautiful.
common classics.
Oh no,
man.
the original intro, man. That thing.
Yeah.
It comes in and the
Oh, yeah, I know.
man. I love that so much.
I'm just
I
saying.
love that whole soundtrack. Fuck.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's one of the
Yeah.
faves.
The whole thing, like, it sounds like it was just played at the gyms in the 90s. Like, you go into the gym and you just hear, like, the OST for Streets of Rage 2, you know, people working out and shit. Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a lot of that dance music from the 90s and stuff
And when you
like
leave
that.
the gym, you have to fight your way down the block to the Starbucks and beat a car up on the way. Get some-
Hopefully you don't have your girlfriend with you because she'll get stolen and then you got to go on a mission to rescue.
She gets punched in the stomach and whisked away to some top skyscraper somewhere.
Is this Double Dragon now?
I think we
It's
segued
literally
somehow.
MKL.
I know it's
It's all of them.
But
Beat them up to that era.
favorite like company. I
the
mean,
company sound like
I'd have to, you know,
that's tough too.
I mean,
I've got a whole list also I could list off, you know.
Yeah,
but that would
well.
also coincide with composers because like Rare, that was mostly David Wise, but I mean, you know, Rare in the Super Nintendo era in like '64, good stuff there too.
but I mean, how many Rare games do we have on the Super Nintendo? You probably
Yeah, the
count
Mario
them up.
Country trilogy.
And
We've
Killer
got
Instinct, Ken Griffey Jr.'s.
Yeah, Killer Instinct, Ken Griffey Jr.
There's 2 Ken Griffey Jr.'s.
Yeah, but they only did the one.
Oh, all right.
And actually, wait, they didn't do a whole lot on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's
Oh,
very,
yeah, you got-
very, very small number of games that they made.
Hmm.
You know.
Yes, you're right, man.
Yeah,
and the
so they-
Battletoads, the two Battletoads games. The two?
Oh yeah, but Battletoads and Battle Maniacs and Double Dragon.
Double Dragon. That
Yeah.
was.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's actually really tough. I don't know why I brought that up with favorite companies because that could just coincided with any of the other.
Well, they
topics.
did the NES too, like Wizards and Warriors and stuff like that, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's like a really good fucking soundtrack right there. Again,
Yeah,
something
Iron
else
Sword.
that's kind of like really, really atmospheric too. Even though it's actually a very like simplistic soundtrack, it doesn't really like it's not too in your face. It's not too like aggro or anything. It's just very ominous, I guess, is what I'm gonna say. But It'd have to be like Capcom. It's always super upbeat. It's always nice. It keeps you focused on the game and stuff like that. Everything's happy. But then again, you know, games like Mega Man where it's like inspired by metal music and stuff like that. So it changes up their whole sound, I guess, from game to game. Because I can't think of like DuckTales sounding like Darkwing Duck or even Chip and Dale sounding like any of the other games, really.
Well, yeah, when it's
You know,
I know
like
each of those are different
Commando
composers,
and
so-
1943, 42. Like they did a lot. It ranges pretty wide too. It
What-
ranges
no.
really wide for different genres, I guess, if you wanted to classify, you know, sub-classify, you know, genres in game
I guess
music.
One of my favorite.
If that's
Capcom-
what we're getting to. Sorry. Was that Tim's?
I was gonna say one of my favorite old Capcom soundtracks is actually Street Fighter 2. Like I love that soundtrack. And that's not one people kind of come up with. And Gal's themes become that terrible meme, but I love that song before it was. So like I
love this before it was popular.
well no, I just
I know.
I didn't want to bring it. You can't bring it up without mentioning that, so I had to. But
I guess.
I always I don't know. I like that soundtrack a lot.
It's actually one of the most forgettable to me. I don't know why. I guess because I didn't grow up playing Street Fighter. I don't say it's bad. It's just for me, I don't remember it. I can remember. I'd probably remember the most obscure NES Capcom game more than Street Fighter soundtrack. Like Street Fighter 2010. It's not obscure, but I recognize that one more.
Really? More than Street Fighter
That's
2?
kinda
That's
weird,
like,
'cause, like,
that's been
It's like
carried
Street
through the
Fighter 2,
ages.
except it has
Stage
0,
and
1, and
Chun
0 in
Li
front of it.
I think
I
Nico's
can
too young.
I don't
Yeah.
think
I'm not young. I'm wearing an
remember.
ELP shirt. Look at this. This is 70s shit, man. It's old.
You weren't there, man.
I know I wasn't there, but I can still love and appreciate it. You dick. That's what I do here on 8-bit stereo. Or with
Yeah,
8-bit
but
stereo.
with the Street Fighter 2, you know, soundtrack, the music has been kind of carried through the ages. It's been varied, but no matter what, it's always kept that same like, you know, bass sound. So it's weird. Yeah, it's very iconic. It is a really good
iconic.
soundtrack. Yeah,
Yeah.
and some of the newer remixes on like Street Fighter V and stuff like that, they're really really good, and they really kind of like they
Ooh.
get you pumped up and stuff like that. Like Street Fighter
I got
V's music is so good. The game it's very bare bones. There's literally like 16 people to pick from. It's kind of fucking stupid that they're asking $60 for that, and like I think 8 of them are like new fighters too. So you don't even get me started. Like there's no E Honda. Anyway,
Sorry. It's okay.
yeah,
No E Honda?
no E Honda, man. I'm gonna do the 1,000 hamburger slap.
Okay, man. Hey, what if I tell you that? Oh wait, no. Actually, Andrew, companies got any favorites to say with the sound or anything?
Oh, companies? Let's
Apogee.
see. Yeah, Apogee. Yeah, no, they were fun. I guess to be a little different. No, we already mentioned. Yeah, it's software. They had a lot of different artists that did different soundtracks, so it wasn't just one person like David Wise just conquering the company's legacy. But,
yeah, that's pretty good. I love it, man. It did good stuff.
yeah, they had Bobby Prince. They had Nine Inch Nails do the Quake soundtrack.
Yeah, I was going
It
to
was
mention that
awesome.
at some point.
Well,
Yeah.
really? I
Yeah?
never knew. Oh.
Yeah,
You
Sonic
never knew.
Oh,
Mayhem.
no, I forgot because yeah, just some I haven't listened to much of that. I need to listen to more PC stuff, man.
Yeah,
I
dude.
don't know. I don't know if I would go back and listen to the Quake. I remember it being like really great for when you're playing Quake. I
Oh,
don't know
the
if
Quake.
I'd go back and just listen to it. Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I had to go
I-
back and see if I would.
Yeah, Quake 1 was it's very atmospheric, but Quake 2, that was by Sonic Mayhem,
Yeah.
and they did completely opposite. It's
Yeah.
very
I remember
heavy
that.
metal, very fast, very pumping.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a complete opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that soundtrack is highly recommended.
Well, good.
But
Did it come with a CD for the sound? What? I
Yeah,
guess
it
that
was
was.
on the Redbook Audio, so you
Okay.
can pop the CD into your card, it would play. So I
With
had
the-
all my Quake CDs in my car.
No,
back in
I
the day.
totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember that now. That was right.
with the Quake soundtrack, I had it on the 64, so let's say
Oh.
that first. Yeah, it was still a lot of fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but I actually used to turn the music off and I used to listen to It's Dark and Hell is Hot for some reason, the DMX CD. I don't know why. It's just if you listen to it, it's like
Maybe
a very
'cause that's
dark,
like
evil
great album.
CD. Like it
Yeah.
really is dark
He's
and evil.
exploring like his inner
Yeah,
demons
so
and,
like,
it's
and that
really
was the
good.
best was when Damien came on. Oh man.
Oh yeah, man,
Dude,
That's why you did that.
yeah, you should go play Quake and listen to It's
Yeah,
Dark and Hell is Hot, man.
That's a great alternative universe thing. Like, what if DMX did the Quake soundtrack?
But
That would- yeah,
I honestly used to turn that off and listen to that CD.
Quick, someone
most
mod
of the time.
Quake and put the soundtrack of they're talking with DMX.
But yeah,
Pretty
so I don't really know the Quake soundtrack too much because DMX.
That's okay. But do you know the
Segue, no.
I'm always trying to segue, man. But actually, this is one I definitely wanted to really talk about. I mean, just because it's whatever. The best music or great music from really bad and terrible games, which pretty much people would just point at half the NES library and be like, half the games suck, but most of the music is pretty great, which is
exactly
true.
what I was gonna do with one particular game, though.
Just one. I can't think of anything.
Wiiguy, it's terrible, but great soundtrack from Konami.
Fantastic
Good job, Konami.
soundtrack. Fantastic.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
trying
really
to
have
think of
one.
one of my least favorite games on the NES that has just like a stellar soundtrack. It's
That Sesame
hard.
Street game.
essentially it's not bad. It's whatever.
No, the one by that software company. Their logo is like the heart or whatever.
Oh, High Tech Expressions.
Yeah,
I mean, Rare
that-
did those. Three of the NES ones. The other two were handled by. another
It's the
company.
one where it's like a carnival games and stuff like that.
What 1, 2, 3 ABC? One of those.
No, not that. It's not that one. It's like a carnival game. It's like a whole mix of different kind of games, but with
Oh,
Sesame
you mean
Street.
the Muppet Adventure?
Yeah, that
That's-
one. There
yeah,
you go.
that's-
Muppet
that's another
Adventures.
different company. That's
Horrible game, but the music's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I believe Dennis Intrivia, who I think was the founder of Mind's Eye, who also just did that one and only game. That's their only game they ever did. That is a great soundtrack. It makes use of of drum samples, which is kind of impressive. You know, it's a pretty good sound. That is a terrible game.
This horrible game, dude. Oh man, so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, I guess I can't think of games that I just like really hate. I can just think of games that most people have called bad and be like, or just agree that yes, the music is great, or if they dissed on it, it's like no. Like I think the Deadly Tower soundtrack is pretty good. There's some good tracks in that Deadly Towers game.
Yeah.
If there is, screw you guys if you don't believe me.
It's alright.
I know it's because there's a lot. I mean, there's game people call say Silver Surfer is bad, whatever. I like it's a good game. I mean, Tim Fallon, Jeff Fallon on the soundtrack. I mean, that's a lot of people would probably point to that. A lot of the LJN games probably too. Just people would be like, I think most people can agree. Most LJN games, even if they didn't like the games for the gameplay, music for most of them are all pretty great because you had Atlas and Rare and of course Tim and Jeff Fallon with Software Creations working on some of their games, which really helped make them memorable for their music.
Yep, I agree.
Point.
I agree, 100%.
Back to the Future.
Yeah, Back to the Future.
Beetlejuice.
Beam Software.
Spirit of Speed.
Spirit of Speed. Oh, Spirit of Speed. That's.
I'm just saying. I mean, you brought up the Pan LGN, and of course, being members of Multitapped, we're all very well versed in LGN. So.
Yep. Thank you, Matt Ezra.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
Well,
I don't
subsequently,
actually agree with that statement necessarily.
What?
That LGN had always had above average music somehow, for their games being bad. Is that what it is?
I wasn't saying that all games were stellar, but just generally the music would be the Back to the Future 2 and 3 and the original would be you could, if you hate the games, you could probably be like, yeah, the music's all right. You don't have to love it,
Bill and Ted, some of the best right there.
That's a decent soundtrack. It is.
For all of 2 seconds.
There is. What do you mean 2 seconds? They loop release 15 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying because I have to, autism.
And then the jukebox music too. It's all right though for the little bit that there is. But yeah, the LJN for the most part, their music's pretty solid.
Yeah.
You said most of the games are horrible, but we all fucking had that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess
that's very true.
We all had LJN games, so at least there's that much. There's the music and the few select games that are playable.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the best one is. It has to be one that either Tim Fallon did or Jeff or LJN. Alien 3 soundtrack and Nightmare on Elm Street and Alien 3 are great because Jerome Tell for Alien 3 is what a master. What a master he is.
Alien 3 on Super Nintendo?
No, NES. NES. NES, man. That also makes me think of the RoboCop games. I mean, I don't know who's played RoboCop. Who's played at least 3 of them on the NES? Any of the 3?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I played them all, but I don't know that I ever got very far in any of them.
I played 1 and 3. They're pretty fun. 3 is really fun. I actually like RoboCop
yeah,
3.
I remember 3 being the cream of the crop for sure.
Yeah, I actually used to play that in the arcade a lot when I was little.
I remember 1 being very confusing. I think there's a gun you can find anyway. I don't really remember though.
Jaws, Nightmare Friday, yeah.
Ocean Software. A lot of Ocean Software games usually get bad flack for their gameplay, but their music for pretty much most of their games are pretty good. If anyone's listened to the Jurassic Park on NES, that's a great soundtrack.
Oh yeah, Ocean. I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Pluck is not LJN. Lucius, you silly Billy. That's Trade West, but that is Tim and Jeff Fallon, and that's not a bad game. I don't think they're listening up there. Yeah, Pluck is a great game. Should have read that. But
damn, Sega Genesis is getting no love from you guys.
I can't think of a really. Oh, wait, Superman on Genesis. Really, it's a bad game.
What about Dick Tracy? You guys ever heard Dick Tracy soundtrack? Yeah, it's one of my favorite games on the Genesis, dude.
I've never heard the Genesis version of Dick Tracy.
The Genesis, even the Master System version is really good too. That's
the NES version's music is pretty good, but yeah, the game is not that good.
Yeah, no, it's 2 different games. It's nothing like the NES game, thankfully. It's still an action platformer kind of thing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually like the Action 52 soundtrack on Genesis. Not all the tracks are, most of them are really average, but there are a few that actually really stand up above and beyond. what was it, like Haunted Hills or Halls or whatever. Like the music for those in that game is pretty good. If anyone actually check that out, Haunted Hills or Halls, whatever it's called in the Genesis version of
Hills,
Action
I
52.
think.
It's actually pretty good. It's also paired with like Dark Sign or whatever the other game is on that one.
I think
pretty
the
good.
only thing I've ever played on that was the Cheetah Man, and I think I remember it being okay. The music, the game is
Hey,
wretched, but
now that's one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Cheetah Man on NES, terrible
Pretty good.
games, but that theme is iconic. It's
Oh.
almost too iconic or too.
well, now, yeah.
I mean,
Of
it's
course.
too. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was
Go
thinking
ahead.
of one in like 16-bit era on Super Nintendo. Now, some people contest that Bart's Nightmare, The Simpsons Bart Nightmare, is not a bad game. I think it most definitely is.
That's a bad
But
game.
it's a it has some interesting musical stuff, like the overworld, the Windy World theme with like the Bart voice samples. That's actually, it may not be like everybody's cup of tea, but it's interesting. It's good in its own way. Yeah, that was kind of a letdown for a point, but
It's. I haven't heard that. I should probably listen to that.
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the stuff's just like covering stuff from the show, and they do it competently. But
Yeah.
that particular, I think, is just something they made for the game specifically. It was actually okay.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you guys. What are some of your favorite voice samplings in some of the earlier games?
Voice samples, dude. There's some actually pretty good voice samples. on
Yeah,
that.
I know.
You ever play Scat Special Cybernetic Attack Team?
Actually, no.
There's a pretty good voice sample in that. It's one of my favorites, at least the one I think is like most like
I had not.
awesome. I was playing some games on my EverDrive, and there was some with some really good voice samples. Shoot. Thank me.
You can't
There's one
drink.
game that's called. There's one game. I think it's called Impossible Mission. I think, where when
Yeah,
your guy
yes.
dies, he makes this
Mhm.
scream. It's the best scream in any game.
Oh yeah, it's
I-
Skater Die 2. Yeah. Duh. That was what I
Oh,
was thinking.
Skater Die 2, the intro. Yeah.
That skate, or even in the cutscenes when there's like, "Yo, dude."
Duke Nukem 3D.
Skate straight, bro.
I'm definitely voting for John St. John, Duke Nukem 3D. Best voice.
Yeah, he's. I mean, yeah, because that was still in an era where it was still like compressed, memory or whatever.
I
for
think,
the
I think
sound.
it counts. It's pretty
It
close.
does.
It cuts off.
Oh,
I
that
think it
counts. Yeah, it's totally compressed.
I should Ghostbusters. Yes. No, that's not a good example.
That's it.
Oh, actually, what I like is the Adventures of Bayou Billy when in the game, the Adventures of Bayou Billy. I actually like that
That's
one.
that. Yeah, that's actually, you're right. Another good use of sound in that game. Just well
Look,
done.
another good useless sound.
Use of sound, gone to waste.
Use of sound.
Oh,
Oh, actually, one of the most impressive, which is kind of weird, Dirty Harry NES. They included the whole at the end of the game when you beat the game. It includes the whole I know what you're thinking. Like they actually put that whole speech in the end of the game, which is apparently took up like half the cart because they put and in the beginning too. When go ahead, make my day. Those voice samples are not like the clearest, are impressive, especially for the ending. Search it up, guys. The ending of Dirty
Yeah.
Harry on NES. It's very impressive how they put that. Oh, and Gauntlet 2. Gauntlet 2's got some good voice samples.
Mm.
Yeah,
Damn.
Warrior. Warrior needs food badly.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's
That's like the only one I can really think of besides like there's one like Simpsons game. It was like Bart goes to like some summer camp game, had some pretty funny sound voices on it and stuff. I don't know if you ever played it.
I don't know.
It's like
don't
Bart
think
goes
like
to
that.
summer camp or something like that.
Are you sure that wasn't Ernest? Ernest goes
Yeah.
to camp. It's Jim Barty the whole time.
Yo,
Hey,
I've-
Bert, you know that thing? Yeah.
I've said this before, but tell me John Cena doesn't look like Ernest.
That's amazing.
Just go do a comparison yourself, guys, and you'll see that John Cena looks just like Ernest.
Okay,
It's
we can
there.
do that.
It's there. The facial structure, man.
No, he's right. He's right.
It's like his son or something. We just don't know it. John Verney.
You know what you don't know?
Composers.
do
Yeah.
No, none of that's good, sir. I was going to transition, but I wanted to also mention for great music from a terrible game, Eek the Cat on Super Nintendo. Check it out; it's a great
Never
soundtrack.
played that. Yeah. Who did
It's
that game?
basically Escort Mission, a game.
Oh,
It's-
that sounds terrific.
Sounds
It
like
does.
Fable 1.
Oh,
Yeah, the first Fable is just a big escort mission, but ugh.
Yeah, I think some other bad games that had good soundtracks. It's Ocean Game, Waterworld on Super Nintendo.
yes. Oh, I love that soundtrack. Ooh,
It's such a good ambient soundtrack.
yeah.
Yeah, but the gameplay is like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great sound. It's pretty diverse. Like there's like 20 tracks that are like really lengthy. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, they're like 10 minutes long, some of them. And it's just,
That's what she
I don't know why they did that.
Yes, exactly. I knew you were gonna say that, Mike. And
Yeah.
also another Super Nintendo great one, Utopia. That build simulation game. I think it sucks or whatever, but the soundtrack for the Super Nintendo is, mwah, mwah, mwah. It's great.
Yes.
That's Andrew's
Sure,
jam.
Italian?
He has it right behind him.
Mwah.
That's his favorite
Have
game,
what?
bro. That game, Utopia. That's your favorite. You have it right behind you.
Oh yeah, do you got the PC version,
I
bro?
don't have Utopia.
Oh, well, that's okay. And
Weirdo.
well, speaking of the PC era, guys, this is a pretty big one. What do you think is the best era of video game music? Like separated by 8-bit, 16-bit, 32, 64, or a generation, like the console generations of
Whoa.
yes,
Hmm.
that's a big one.
That's deep.
Because there's
bro.
a lot of different soundtracks, a lot of memorable ones, a lot of great ones in each era. Most of
Sir.
it.
Whoa. That's deep, man.
Dude, that's tough. And of course, you get everything in that generation or era. 8-bit, you get NES, Master System, Game Boy. 16 is Super Genesis. What else counted in? Does anything else count in that era?
Turbo
don't think so.
graphics.
Game Boy Color,
Sega
No,
CD. 32X.
yeah, Turbo Graphics.
Windows 3.1.
Yes,
Chips Challenge, baby.
I love all those Windows 3.1 soundtracks in whatever generation that was.
That was a 20-year
Like-
gap, probably.
93, 94. I don't know.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I love the 8-bit. I'd probably go 8-bit because there's a lot, and there's still custom music being made to this day.
Exactly. That's why I argue it is right now, because not only are we having great musics of every genre in video games, as well as licensed music and whatnot, they're still making the old stuff now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shovel
I
Knight.
Shovel Knight.
Oh my god.
Whoa. Oh my God, Andrew, you love you.
My Plague Knight staff. Yeah.
Ladies,
Total dork.
It's got a beak on the front.
Call me. Yeah.
The Minesweeper OST.
yeah, that was what, the first generation, first bit era? That's just simple sound effects.
What about Ski Free?
Ski Free.
Nobody knows
Is there
Ski
a sound
Free.
in that game?
I don't think so. I think it's just the Bigfoot. That's a tough
Alright,
one,
on
but
to the next
I'd
topic.
have to go with
No, it's kidding.
16-bit. I really like the I mean, are we gonna count Sega CD 16-bit?
Yeah. I mean, most people would
things
probably just be 16-bit because of Super Nintendo. That's where the
No, I love the Sega soundboard to fucking death.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
I'm
I
the same
love
way.
that twang that it has. That people are like, oh, it's too noisy, and I'm like, I fucking love the Sega
Oh, yeah.
soundboard.
I love
why
it. Like how
why is
brassy
the
it
S- Yeah. Why is SNES so muted? That's what I think about when I'm listening to Genesis versus SNES.
It
agree.
does sound muffled at times.
There's
Andrew,
probably a
sorry.
bit more memorability with Super Nintendo, but Genesis is if you want to just get down on some some hardcoreness, Genesis will serve you up a nice slice of the Yamaha sound chip.
Oh, no.
That's right. What?
Sega.
Hey!
Andrew, what were you gonna say before I cut you off?
Oh, I don't remember.
He's we got too far from it.
No, well, I'll just go with the topic. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Joshua's right, but ignoring modern right now, yeah, I like the 16-bit. I love the whole Sound Blaster audio from the DOS
Yeah.
PCs. Yeah, Sega Genesis. That's where it's at. It's just got
Genesis
that
love.
sound.
32X.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
That's
that's basically still Genesis. It's just whatever.
It's Sega CD startup music.
It's 16-bit, not 32.
I know. Well, I know it's weird how it's the 32X, but it's still like 16. It's like falseness. Oh yeah. Also, I say 8-bit because of some of the expansion sound chips, like the VRC6, and of course the one in Gimmick. I mean, VRC6 in general, that Konami sound chip is a great expansion. I mean, you ever listen to the Japanese version of Castlevania 3?
Yeah,
The
that's
FM
one I
chip
know
or
more.
whatever. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great custom music too that's made with the VRC6, like Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight's made with the VRC6 chip, which is what makes it even more awesome.
What makes it even more awesome is that I don't know the female's name. Like, she worked on Mega Man 2 and a couple, like obviously all the other Mega
Oh, you mean the
Mans.
original composer of Mega Man?
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I know that she worked on
Minami
like
Matsume.
yeah, that. Her.
Yeah,
She's great.
Yeah.
Tell you.
She worked on some of the songs for Shovel Knight, like 2 or 3 of the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a stretch goal. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I
Especially
followed that game to the death.
Oh yeah, and the Lagrange point, which is the only one to use the VRC7 expansion, which basically made it sound like Genesis. It's you ever listen to that soundtrack, Lagrange
No.
point? It's basically like listening to like something way more advanced on the Famicom because it's Famicom only. But because of that, that game is also really expensive.
Oh.
What's it called? The range?
Lagrange point. Like think of the song by ZZ Top, Lagrange.
Yeah. Again, that's pretty dope. I'm gonna have to listen to this thing that you call point of Lagrange.
The Lagrange. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, and Namco's 106 sound chip, like on Mappy Kids.
Uh-oh.
What the?
I was just, yeah, because you can't see my eyebrows. My hair's covering them. Well, kind of.
You cannot see my eyebrows.
Got to shave your head.
They dominate like half of my fucking face.
But you know what's dominating? That's a terrible segue. Once again,
No. How
what?
dominating is it?
I was going to transition to the next one, which is kind of also still like the last topic, except what do you guys think is best, retro music or contemporary video game music? Eh?
Well, I believe we kind of touched it
Yes.
on this before the stream started for like a half a second, but like I said before, man, I don't think there's not very many new soundtracks that like really stick in my mind. Like I can't think of a moment in Gears of War where I was in a fire battle.
That's because
and
Gears of War is terrible.
no, I'm just saying, like even with Halo, man, like anything, dude, like
Halo's got a great soundtrack.
It's got those few memorable songs, yes, but aside from that,
okay,
a lot of it
fair
is
enough.
just a lot of it you can just wash away. Honestly, you know, it's like Star Wars. Did you see the new Star Wars? Do you remember any of the music? I don't fucking don't. Even though I watched the movie like 6 times already, I remember 0 of the score. It was trash. The music was the game. The movie was awesome, but with newer games, man, it's not very often that I remember a soundtrack unless it comes with something like Shovel Knight or, you know, Hotline Miami, which is fantastic. And I know, you know, Tibbs will agree with me on that. I don't know if either one of you guys have gotten to touch that game, but it's worth a playthrough if you have the chance to get it, man. It's definitely worth it. You probably get it for like $3, but it's such a good like throwback to like I don't even know.
Top
I'd
down
say
shooters.
something like Super Smash or something like that.
You know what game? This is the most terrible comparison I've ever had. It reminds me of True Lies, the SNES game, and like it's nothing like that. It plays like, I mean, just way different. But like as far as
Die
the
Hard.
style, like that's about as close as a top down shooter.
Yeah, Die Hard.
It's kind of like Die Hard, actually.
Like Die Hard on NES.
It's
No,
one of those games, but it's the best one of those ever made. It's the best top down shooter like that ever made.
absolutely.
Look at that.
It brings everything, variety, fucking. Anyway, yeah. But that's a really good, you know, newer soundtrack, but I'd have to say that the retro games are way more memorable. I can't tell you if that's my nostalgia speaking or if that's just me being,
I mean,
genuinely
so
honest.
true.
But
I think I disagree.
I can't.
I think a lot of the 8-bit stuff does blend together. If you just put it all together in one continuous line of songs, I think, and same thing with modern, you would find the same amount of forgettable stuff and the same amount of memorable stuff. And of course, opinion and taste changes those those picks as well. But I just don't know. I don't think there is like a better one in that regard. Like, I think
better, but like, what's more memorable or more? I mean,
but I think they're both memorable. Is what I'm getting at.
But it comes to the point. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it comes to a point where I can put on like a certain soundtrack. Like I can put on, like I was saying the other day, I was talking to somebody. I can literally put on like the soundtrack for A Link to the Past. And if I line it up in the proper order that you would encounter these songs, I can literally play the game in my head through the music. I cannot say that for any other game. Like any other like newer game right now. Like nothing comes to mind to where I can
Shovel Knight.
I'm trying to like exclude that because
have you played any modern game for 25 years?
Yes. No, I haven't.
He's racked up lots of World of Warcraft hours.
Oh my God, years. No, God, no. But there are games that I have, went crazy on. Like again, Halo 3. I couldn't tell you how much time I put into that game. Still don't remember the music for it. It's just it. Yeah,
and it's funny because any music that did come out, or like any of the contemporary soundtracks that I really like, they're 8-bit. Like Shovel Knight, Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10, the VV game, the 6 Vs, like Cave Story.
Yeah,
it's
Cave
all
Story.
retro.
Oh man,
it's all kind of retro themed. There's nothing like with real. I mean, one of my favorites.
It's all
modern.
It's all indie developed. Therefore, it's all
some. But
that's true. Though. Cave
like
Story.
The Donkey Country Tropical Freeze soundtrack. They probably one of the most memorable.
They can't afford a symphony. They can't afford a full live band on their soundtracks. So they get people who make.
Which is probably why I'm attracted to it. Well, like I just said.
Oh yeah, no, that's obviously a guy like you is gonna naturally draw themselves to soundtracks like that. That's the kind of stuff you like.
Yeah, but as I just said, I love the Donkey Country Tropical Freeze. That's definitely one of the best soundtracks I've listened to in the last 10 years of the modern era. Probably because also David Wise, but still, it's very modern. It's modern. I mean, I love also the what else do I have on my? I mean, Rhythm Heaven. That's modern. One of my favorites, but it's interesting. There's a whole lot of variables for these things to think of what's, I mean, not better like you said, but just what, I don't know,
what can you hear on the drop of a dime that you would be like, oh, that's from that.
It just depends though. Someone played something from Tropical Freeze, I'd be like, yeah, I know that song. But play something from Target Renegade, I'd be like, I know that too. I think it's just at this point, it's just a matter of preference. I invested myself in 8-bit stereo, which is why I know so many 8-bit soundtracks, and I do invest myself.
And that's why you remember those kind of soundtracks more in the modern time, too.
Yeah, but I can still get down on stuff. Well, yeah, I guess not remember stuff like Tropical Freeze, but I can get down on a lot of good modern stuff. There's a lot of good modernish or contemporary music like that. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
The Silent Hill games have some good music too for some of the newer games.
Thank you for bringing that up because when it comes to atmosphere,
Silent Hill is king.
Dude, I played Silent Hill 3 12 times. I still get creeped out. I get creeped out every time. There's not a single time I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going through this game. It's not a problem. I still get creeped the fuck out.
The best song in that game is right before you go into the dark world and you're in the bathroom in the mirror and it's playing that safe, soft guitar music. It's just like
it's such a can keep me in nice moments, but then just terrify the fuck out of me.
But then again, it's not. A lot of it isn't music too. It's just noise and background noise and metal scraping and things clanging together.
It's in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. Like they did that good of a job with creating a soundtrack that they didn't even need to use like music or instruments to technically make the music for that game. So that's another one that really sticks out to me, I guess, for something that's newer.
It is.
Silent
Andrew?
Hill series.
Anything, Andrew?
Yeah. Well, I think with a lot of those like chiptunes, they're easier. They're much easier to hum. So I think that's why you might remember them more often. Or like a big orchestral soundtrack, you're gonna have a hard time going, oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
But I think
So
I
in
think
the
for,
end, I'm sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Like I think when you bring up what's like memorable, is that what the topic was?
It's just
Yeah.
retro contemporary. In the end, I just want to like talking about both sides. You know, it's not a matter of what's better. I just brought it up just so we can get to points like talking about the Silent Hill things. I just
Yeah.
love talking. I try not to also choose sides, but it's hard. You know, it's really hard. But I like to get discussions going, and we have.
Right. I think one of the weird things about with some of the older soundtracks, like if you played Descent, I don't know if anyone heard of the game Descent. There's like
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I played it on the PC, it was MIDI music, and then like years later, I went to look at the soundtrack on YouTube, and it was completely different. It was all heavy metal playing. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know, that was the CD version of the music. So if you had a different copy of the game, you had a completely different experience with the audio.
Yeah, that just goes back to my Wolf 3D. That's exactly what happened. It's like going from one, it's like the extreme to the other. And there's several games. I think one game that sticks out to me like that is Eternal Champions CD, or Eternal Champions Challenge from the Dark Side. I can't remember what it's called. Versus the cart version.
Yeah.
Like I actually like the chiptunes better than the CD version of pretty much every sound. Yeah, pretty much every sound effect, pretty much every part of that game. Combo system's better, but music wise, I prefer the cart version. So, Mike, is there something you want to share with the class?
Mike, are you passing notes?
Pass it up.
No, I was just reading the chat, guys. That's all.
Yeah, the chat's being pretty funny.
So I want to know.
I love when Benny said it was a terrible topic with the retro contemporary. Well, I don't see you on here.
I can't read the chat.
It's okay, man.
It's all right, bro.
But
You got the same face.
you know, it is what you were talking about with like. Actually, it's maybe a good thing I did bring up this topic because this also then transitions me into the next topic, which is what you're talking about. Actually, no, it's not. It was it was connected to the best music from the worst games, and that's that if bad games today still have good music, which is it's just pretty much like no, I can't think of a bad modern game that has a memorable soundtrack or even anything remotely close. Now that's a shitty topic, Benny.
I couldn't. Yeah, exactly. Because I was like, I don't play shitty games because there's like 100,000 reviews of every fucking game that comes out. I don't actually know a bad game and its music. I'm sorry, I can't really.
Yeah.
Nothing I played recently that was bad. So.
Exactly. Or, I mean, this topic could also just switch into like the memorability of, you know. Well, I guess it's just like the contemporary talk about like you're not going to remember much about the orchestrated stuff. You're going to remember more of the old stuff that you grew up with.
That's not true, though.
I think a lot. Well, most of us have grown up with a lot of the old 8-bit stuff or the that retro stuff. So it's easier to kind of I guess remember those than anything now, or even like when the GameCube era was around or PS2 and all. There's still some memorable stuff, but not as much.
It's mainly the memorable stuff will get us from like, first party developers like Nintendo making soundtracks and stuff like that. But that's also because they're just using like, renditions of older stuff that we've already heard, or they're just kind of putting a new twist on an old sound and they're still keeping like tempos and stuff like that. Like with the Mario games, they're all pretty much the fucking same, especially, all the way up to the Wii U. You're still getting variants of the same stuff with, new stuff thrown in, new sounds, new songs and stuff. But stuff. I think it just
very stuff.
Yeah, very stuffing. But yeah, most of the memorable stuff that you'll get is from in house.
There's memorable early disc era stuff, and it is like all the stuff I can think of is right. It's like in-house Sega, basically. Like Shenmue. What's that other one I was thinking of a second ago? The Sonic Adventure games. I hate the soundtracks. I hate those games. Hate the soundtracks, but they're memorable. I can remember them like all the time.
Running around at the speed.
No, I don't really. Yeah, I don't really care.
I know. I just wanted to sing that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I was like, I can't play these games.
Oh, that music is good for Sonic Adventure 1.
It's very memorable. They're both very memorable. Yeah.
It is. If I were to say, it's funny. I like a lot of Nintendo's first-party modern soundtracks. But I wouldn't rank even in the top 50 like the music they did or the Nintendo games from NES like in the top 50 like soundtracks. It was mostly third-party stuff. To me, that is most memorable in like the retro era. Oh wait, now am I making sense? I think I'm making sense. Yeah, I'm making sense. I'm comparing that I like more modern Nintendo soundtracks better than the like stuff on the NES and Super Nintendo, which it almost seems like bad.
Yeah.
The stuff like I like a lot more of like the modern Zelda soundtracks. Like I love Zelda 1, 2, Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening, and all that jazz. But it's when I get to think of it,
but since it's contemporary, they can do more. Therefore, there's lots more layers there. They can just. It's okay to like it, Nico. It's okay to like contemporary video game music.
I know. I do like
anything today.
I was discussing that. It was just like for like specifically like Nintendo. Like if I were to pick favorite like Zelda soundtrack, it'd probably be more from the recent few recent games from like either like Majora's Mask or Twilight Princess or even
Twilight Princess is so forgettable though.
For me, I have a lot of songs that are stuck in my head from that soundtrack.
But the idea that those are recent games is kind of funny if you think about it, though.
Yeah. It's weird, but it is weird. Definitely when soundtracks get larger, they kind of sometimes get a little bit more forgettable, which could have been a topic. I suck.
But I'll expand on that. No, that's not true. Grand Theft Auto games, modern ones, maybe not so with GTA 3, but everyone since then, huge games, huge amounts of music, very memorable soundtracks. Everybody who has played those games can tell you at least 5 tracks from each of them that they love. They're licensed music, I'll grant you that, but they're still a game soundtrack. So, and those are very well picked and what they can afford. It's really well done, like how they budget for those. And anyway, I want to bring up Grand Theft Auto games here at some point. And the menu music on the newer ones, fantastic.
I haven't played a single one. I just know that the Vice City, which had a lot of the licensed music. Like a lot of people like that one because of all the great 80s songs.
Yeah, that was like the first one that really got it right.
Soundtrack for 5 is pretty solid.
Oh, I think 5 is one of the better ones.
Yeah, it's definitely solid. The Saints Row soundtracks are really good too, man.
See, I haven't. It's sad I have not played any Saints Row games.
You can just start with the third and forget all the other ones. It's okay.
The previous two.
Nobody.
If I wasn't OCD, yeah, maybe I could do that.
Oh, you don't want to play the first one, believe me.
That's what I hear.
Oh god,
that's like the original Fallout, not Fallout.
Although the first one was really Far Cry.
Fallout's great. Yeah, Far Cry. The original Far Cry.
Say what? Fallout 1 is.
I misspoke. I'm sorry, guys.
Far Cry is awful.
Oh, you know what? See, it's a good thing I brought up a lot of those bad topics because we got to better ones.
Gooder ones.
I actually like this. What I just thought about with I guess it's maybe just thinking about video game series or franchises that have gone through the eras that pretty much started in the retro bit and then they've gotten into modern. Trying to think of stuff from I probably also would like more the modern Mario soundtracks than the NES and Super Nintendo and all that.
Final Fantasy.
Ooh, Final Fantasy. There's a lot. There's a lot of Final Fantasies. There's a lot.
It's always been solid for the most part, though.
Yeah, but didn't Nobuo Uematsu stop on the 12th or 13th? No, on the 12th one, because I don't. Did he compose 13?
No, I think.
I don't
10
I don't
was
think
last
so.
I think 10 was his last one, or he became like backseat, like sort of like
Yeah.
producing or whatever.
Yeah, and even 10, he split it up with a few other people.
Yeah, because it was like him till like 7. Is 7 the first one where they got like multiple more composers? Or is it still just him? It might have been just him on that one. Maybe 8
Yeah.
or 9.
You could check Google.
No,
I
there'd
should
be
know.
no Google in this.
Oh
I
wait,
know a lot
no.
of Nobuo Matsu's NES soundtracks, but Final Fantasy is not a whole lot in
Split
my
up
head.
at 9.
There's no
Somebody
reason to
said.
Google at this point. We already look like idiots.
I'm not an idiot. Quick, you can do a test. Name a random NES game. I'll tell you its developer and composer.
I said look like. I didn't say you were.
Well, okay.
How about Juju Decision?
Wait, Juju Densetsu?
Yeah.
Isn't that Toki?
Yeah, for
NES?
Nintendo.
Jeez,
I knew it.
Rayman.
But
What?
go on. Who was the
Oh, you want me to give you the
Yeah,
information?
come
Oh,
on. You said you got this, right?
I was a joke, but I can. It's hard to pronounce the developer because for a long time it was unknown who developed that game. I think it was like Daiei, Daiei. Say it's just that's a short version of it, Daiei or whatever.
You win. Yeah.
And the composers of those were what was their names? One starts with an I. It's like Ishigaru. I don't memorize their from that developer because it's been new information about that.
Yeah.
So I haven't memorized it as much,
Or
unfortunately.
an
Caveman
HF.
Games, that's Ocean Software with Jonathan Dunn and Keith Tinman, even though Data East published that one.
Developed by Coconuts.
Yeah, there's a company called Coconuts Japan that did Pachio-kun 2. Or Cone 5,
Machines by Konami? What?
I don't know. How far are we? We're almost at our 90 minutes. We did pretty good actually.
It's
filling out the
116.
time. Not bad. So let's see. I guess we could do like a last like 10 minutes sort of like ramble on about video game music. Is there anything anyone had in mind that they wanted to speak out about? I mean, I still got games and composers and stuff chinking along or clinking along.
I feel like I kind of got a little bit of it out there. We talked about, I don't really know much on composers, but we talked about, atmosphere and music and how it affects, the
That's
gameplay
This game with atmospheric soundtrack. I mean, I would probably say Silent Hill, like we brought up, but
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm still
scary
going.
as hell. The music alone.
The best atmosphere of any I still think is Fallout New Vegas. Actually, probably beats out Hotline Miami barely, because not only does the New Vegas have a great orchestral score and it builds in with the old game, it also has the radio stations and all that shit's modular. You can turn it on and off, and it still gives you an atmospheric experience no matter which ones you decide to use. So like that's some high level sound design shit right there. So that's all, and it really helps the atmosphere of that game.
We're
That's all I'm
hipsters.
we are hipsters, man.
I think the bald head to beard ratio proves that.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
bald heads to young men.
Because this
Good
was
hair.
choice. I chose this. I chose the bald life. It didn't choose me.
I didn't choose the bald life chose me. But that was actually that's a lot of good things we got through, and yeah, we had some kind of not good topics for me, but I mean, I've never really been a host of anything really, or being all like I'm gonna lead. Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. Shh.
I'm not trying to like make anyone feel bad or make me feel sorry for me. It's true. I've been a lot of on the side. I've always been like, hey, don't put in my information and stuff. But for me to
You did
like,
good. You did
yeah,
good.
for a first time basis, we talked and we made a podcast basically.
Your transitions were gold.
Yeah,
Dude, what I do, I'm not smooth. I make sure I do things that people will remember, like my terrible transitions and segues. I want people to laugh at me, not laugh at all.
So he's doing the retro
so why don't you
segues.
segue us out of here?
Yeah.
I guess. All right, to wrap it up, just
Segue me to the bathroom. Oh my god.
actually, we do have to. I am stepping up the big main things. I guess to finish it out, I will. We will do some plugs. So, guys, we're gonna talk about what you do on like your YouTubes and stuff. So, hey, Andrew, tell us a little bit about you at Retro Island Gaming. What does Andrew Hayden do?
What does he do? Well, Yes, Mike, you interested?
I'm trying to do the
Yeah.
same look Tibbs is doing in the picture.
Oh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm a host of Retro Island Gaming. I live in Hawaii, so that's hence the name. But usually it's DOS games. Sometimes I'll stretch out and do a Super Nintendo game.
Sega.
And yeah, my last game was kind of cross-platform, so you never know.
I really like the Immortal review, man.
Yep. Shining Force.
Yeah, and the Shining Force was great.
Mm.
Definitely check it out if you're interested in DOS, because I don't know really much about DOS besides like Doom. So Andrew's enlightened me a bit more.
Yes. I try to make the things interesting, though. So even if you don't know the game, it's still going to be entertaining. Hopefully.
Go for the content, stay for the face, guys.
Yes.
Good face there with Andrew. Good one. Mr. Tiberius. Got anything you want to plug?
I will plug my channel, which is go into YouTube and type in Joshua Tiberius. And that face that you're seeing, if you're watching this on the video stream, will be on there. I have a new review dropping tomorrow, which is March 24th. So by the time you're listening to this, it'll probably already be on my channel. Go check it out. It's on Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City.
Yes.
Oh my god.
If you haven't, check out his Test Your Might series, which is what Josh did before he had a break. It's really great. He reviewed Abadox, which is very nice.
Yeah, which I couldn't shut up about. But the music to that game is fantastic. So you could check that review out if you'd like. But, you know.
Oh, yeah, the day of the Tentacle review, too, man. Didn't even talk about that one, especially with the release of the new game.
So what do you do? What do you do other than watch other reviews, Mike?
Are you gonna plug RLR stuff?
Yeah, I review the reviewers, guys. I'm Rewind Mike. No, I'm just kidding. That would be really funny. But I don't do anything really anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I actually have a new review coming out within the next week here for a game. But I mainly do reviews on retro games. I'm kind of trying to branch out into some newer stuff too, because there's some games that I really want to talk about that are good that a lot of people who are playing retro games or older people don't really check out because they're too tainted by their rose-colored glasses sometimes. But I do pickups videos, but it's been a while since I've been able to do one of those too. So again, like I said, what do I do? Like, it's been a minute since I've kind of been able to do anything. I've had a lot going on in my life and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of streaming, honestly, is kind of what my mainstay is. But I've been working on this new review. I'm trying to get like a schedule going to where I can kind of have reviews out at least every 2 friggin' weeks.
And where can they find those reviews?
You can go to Rewind. It's right there, Rewind Mike. It's all one word. You'll see like a tape there or something like that. You'll see it says like 170 videos, but really, guys, like only 24 of them don't matter. So just yeah.
Yes. We gotta check him out. We gotta check out Mike. Mike's the newbie here in Multitapped. That's he's our new other bald-headed member.
One of many.
Yes, we acquired another. We have an endless supply.
The bald order of no quarter.
Yes. But yes, and of course, I'm the Wiiguy. Most of you probably know me from 8-Bit Stereo, so Wiiguy 309. Simple as that. If you want to hear NES 8-Bit soundtracks in a pseudo stereo format that's nice, clear, and crispy, check it out. And Gaming Going Gone, all one word, for original reviews, like Play the Game, which my newest review should hopefully be out either next month or month after that. I mean, I'm terrible with reviews. Like, I get one out like every 6 months, which is a shame because I like doing it, and everyone loves to, loves those reviews.
The definitive Jim Power review on the internet. So
actually,
Power the Lost Dimension for
I kind of actually stumbled upon that the other day too. I didn't know. I told you too. I didn't know his series is called Play the Game, and I literally thought it was a Let's Play series. So I saw Jim Power, and you guys have been talking about it a lot. I saw that Benny had, somebody play it on stream the other day. So I was like, fuck it. Let me click on this. Let me watch Nico play it. And it turned out to actually be a review. I watched like the first 5 minutes thinking that he was going to segue into a Let's Play, but it just kept being a review. And I was very surprised by it. But it's actually really good. It's very in depth. It's about 20 minutes long. And, it's full of 20 minutes of Nico. So if you want to be filled up by 20 minutes of Nico, he'll fill your 20 minutes.
I know. That's the most anyone would ever be filled with me. So, be proud and noble.
On that note.
And Can You Force It? One of my other series where I play the U-Force to try and beat the first level of NES games. A very great title. It's the best series I've ever named. Can You Force It? Because it's a U and forced. Can you force it?
And it's the U-Force. So. Bang, bang, finger bangs.
And Mike.
Oh yeah, my Skype default picture.
Which nobody can see.
I hate you guys.
But they
Good.
can see it on his thumbnails, on his videos, at his channel. So.
Oh yeah, I did just update all my thumbnails on my pictures and stuff like that. I went over it because I took a bunch of fucking time to do it. Again, only for the videos that matter, so you'll notice which ones matter. But yeah.
Yeah, all right. I think we did it. We did it, guys. I did it. I led you through a podcast without crashing and burning. We may have slipped a little bit, but we may have had a little bit of but we kept on track.
No, it was perfect. We went off topic, but we always came back. I'm pretty sure whoever was watching was interested at least half of the time.
Yeah, we had a good going, till the end here.
Yeah. Well,
thanks everyone that stopped by. Check out Multitapped YouTube channel. Just type in Multitapped. You'll find us, the logo. So if you want to rewatch these and relive all the, glory of me being really bad, then
it's been great.
Andrew, you want to sign us off with a go to multitapped.com today?
Oh, yeah. Don't forget to go to multitapped.com today. Woo!
Thanks for watching.